Welcome to Sound Advice with Phyllis Nichols. This podcast is for women and the men who love them, who are determined to make a difference in the world. You'll hear from other women who followed their own path to success and are willing to share what they've learned along the way. Be ready to laugh, learn, and be inspired. Who knows? Your story could be next. Your host, Phyllis Nichols, will make sure you see the possibilities in your own life. And even better, she'll give you the proven strategies to get you from where you are to where you want to be.
Thanks for joining us today for the Sound Advice podcast with Phyllis Nichols. Today we've got a great guest with us, my friend and entertainer, Debbie Cunningham. Hey, Debbie, thanks for being with us.
Oh, my pleasure. Happy to be here.
Great. So, as you know, I start every podcast by asking, what is the best or one of the most important pieces of sound advice that you've received that's been really meaningful to you in your life?
Well, one of the things I think would be important would be just go for it. So I think we hesitate too long. Perfect or done is better than perfect. I think you've heard a lot of people say that. But I think that as women, we obsess over the details and we want to get everything right before we start our businesses or put ourselves out there. And I think that you do need to be prepared, but I think you just need to kind of get prepared and then go for it.
Okay, I think that's great advice. Now, who has encouraged you to take that advice? Like, who's a big supporter or somebody that would encourage you to do that?
In my personal life, my husband's been a great supporter. A lot of the women I have around me in entrepreneurship have encouraged me over the years to just go for the next thing. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, well, and I mean, how important is that? I mean, encouragement and support and knowing that other people are there for you. How important has that been for you to be able to just sort of go, okay, I'm gonna go for it today?
Oh, absolutely. You have to have support. You have to have a group of people around you, whether it's, a spouse or a best friend or a few women, specifically women in business. I think I've been involved in a lot of small mastermind groups that have been great. In fact, those are key in my success is having articulate women around me who can encourage me, who get the balancing of home and family life and a career, especially when you're building a career or building a business from scratch. It's really, really important to have those small groups around you to keep you focused and encouraged, when the roller coaster days come and things aren't going exactly like you thought they would.
Right. Okay. Well, so tell me a little bit when you're using that, you mentioned balance. What are some tips that you might have for someone who may be dealing with a balance issue right now in their life?
First of all, you need to brain dump. You need to get a piece of paper, get a quiet spot, and you need to write down everything that's on your mind. Because as women, I think we seem to get overloaded, or at least I do. I get overloaded by all of my responsibilities. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I have one in college. She's engaged now, so we're planning a wedding. And I have one in high school who's looking at colleges, so we're doing all the college things. And so as women in general, that's just my family life, let alone my business life. We
Right.
get overwhelmed. Our carts are so full for all the things we do, and then all the people that we serve, our parents, our aging parents, or you might serve in a church, or you might serve in a volunteer organization. But you need to list everything down on a piece of paper. And then you need to organize it according to priority. And that has helped me tremendously, what things can wait, and then what things are priority either for the day, the week, the month, the year. And then you basically need to get it on your calendar. And that was the hugest thing for me, was learning how to calendar my to-do list.
Okay, that's great advice. Now, do you use any special apps or you old school it, like write it down? You mentioned writing as part of the brain dump process. For the calendar part of it, what works for you?
For me, I write everything old school on a piece of paper in a notebook, and then I do add it to my digital calendar on my phone and on my
Right.
computer. I don't have any specific apps. I'm an old school girl. I like to write it down. And when I write it down, I seem to remember it better.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sort of a fan of pen and paper for a lot of things as well. Now I use some apps obviously to keep on track, but yeah, that's awesome. So now you mentioned a little bit, now for people who don't know you, Debbie's an entertainer, and she's a musician and a singer and a songwriter. You're writing a book. So tell us a little bit about special challenges that maybe you have as an entertainer that are a little bit different in a business building aspect.
Well, as an entertainer, not only I have a product, my CD, or I'm also writing a book right now, so I have a product, so I have a CD or a book. And so most people create a product and put it out there, mass market it, and sell it. But I'm also physically a part of my product because I'm an entertainer, so I have to be on stage in front of people. I book my own gigs, but I also have to take care of the product, so that's another part of it because I'm trying to stay healthy because I have to sing. And so when you're balancing a lot of those things, that's one key thing. I think all people in business obviously have to take care of themselves to run their company. But as an entertainer, I have to do it because I'm in front of people all the time. And so that's just an additional added stress to my business life, I guess.
Well, I think that the concept of self-care obviously is really great, and being on stage where you're going to be in front of an audience obviously just even emphasizes that so much more. Can you give us some tips on how you stay on track with self-care? Is there anything that you do? Do you carve out time each week? Just give us a little insight, because I think this is something a lot of people struggle with.
I think it's really difficult. I think, too, as women, I speak a lot to women, entrepreneurial groups, about this kind of thing. But I think that women in general struggle with serving and caring for everyone else before themselves. But, there's that, the old, if you fly, they say put your oxygen mask on first so you can help other people around you. And I think that self-care is really important. I think it's difficult. I'm still learning as I go. I do try to take time to work out. I do try to take time to have for me, I need quiet. I need quiet meditation to write and to write songs, to write the book. And that's hard in a busy world and in a busy life. And sometimes I get up really, really early, like 4 a.m., so that I can have 2 hours of quiet before it's time to get people off to school.
Wow, that's great.
That's why I got to bed at 9:30.
Yeah, well, if that works for you, though, that's awesome. Now, because I know you and we're friends, there's a couple of things I would love for you to share. I think it's really cool. I know you've got some really interesting stories. Could you give us one of your songwriting stories? I know there's more than one, but just some of the creative and interesting ways in which you've been able to come up and write your songs.
Okay. Let's see. Well, okay, so a funny song I have is called Waiting in Line Blues. And it's a song that I wrote while I was waiting in the carpool line because I was so tired of waiting in the carpool line. And I thought, instead of getting angry, because it was actually a carpool line for a rehearsal that one of my kids was at, and it was like running 30 minutes behind, and I was thinking, I have so much to do. I cannot just sit here and do nothing. And so actually I wrote a song. It's very funny. A lot of people like it in my shows, and they relate to it. So there's one caveat there. I have another song called Chocolate, about women in chocolate. Obviously very popular with the ladies. And it's basically about our love of chocolate, and sometimes that's the only thing that'll suffice.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. And I don't know that I've heard Waiting in Line Blues, so I will look forward to hearing that song. But, that's another great example of taking some available time, unplanned, maybe unscheduled available time, and doing something with it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and another thing that I think would be a tip for a lot of female entrepreneurs out there is, obviously I run a household, so cleaning, laundry, all of that stuff. I listen to a lot of podcasts, including your podcast, on my earphones while I'm walking around the house and doing housework. So that's just another way I've been able to supplement my business time and my home life and balance that and getting both things done.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And thank you for being a supporter of the podcast. I really appreciate that. I'd love to ask you, to somebody listening today, especially somebody in the entertainment world, it's such a challenging industry. If there's someone listening in the entertainment world or in any kind of circumstance, and they're really looking for a way to get started, what is something that you would tell them about just what to do? I mean, going back to your original advice of just go for it. In addition to that, from an encouragement standpoint, what would you advocate that they do or look for?
Well, what helped me was I started with the end in mind. I knew that I wanted to record a record, let's say, because I was singing out already, gigging. Mm-hmm. A lot of people ask me, do you have a CD for sale? No, I do not. So I thought, you know what, I want to have a CD for sale. So I started there. That was the end in mind. And then I worked backwards from there to figure out what it was going to take to do that. Well, I needed to record songs. And before that, I needed to have songs to record. And I needed to hire musicians. And I just kept working backwards to know where to start. And then I scheduled that in my calendar over the next several months of what I needed to do in order to get to the end product. So that's what you have to decide what you want. It's really important to understand what you want and why you want it. Because wanting it just because you want to make money is not enough of a why. In this day and age, people respond to why you do something, not what you do.
Yeah, that's terrific advice, and I think that's a really terrific insight. Can you tell us a little bit about your why, or kind of where you came up with that concept when you realized in your music career that was kind of the important part?
Well, I think that I've always sung, and people have always enjoyed my music or enjoyed listening to my voice. But once I started to decide why I was doing this, which right now with this next record, I think your why can change.
Sure.
With each business or each product, maybe. This next project is called A Million Kisses, and it's my next CD coming out, and at the time, and I'm also writing a book called The Art of Staying in Love, and I'm really on a mission to encourage couples to stay in love in their relationship, particularly midlife couples. We see a lot of divorce midlife, even after 20 years of marriage, and so I'm really, really wanting to encourage couples, and so that's my why for these next two projects, and so I'm really passionate about that, and I think other people who want to stay married and who want to stay in love really get on board with that. And so for me, that's where my why comes in for this next project.
Oh, that's terrific. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's really cool. I'm looking forward to the CD. I'm looking forward to the book as well. For those people that don't know Debbie's music, I'm going to have some links on the website, so you'll be able to go to her website. I know she has some music there, I think, that you can download. You can buy her previous CD that's already been out there. So what else can we do to be able to support you as your new projects are coming out? Well,
if you go to my website, which is DebbieCunninghamJazz.com, you can see all the places that you connect with me, Twitter and Facebook. On Twitter, I'm at DC Jazz. And then you can look for Debbie Cunningham Jazz on Facebook. If you would like to get more information about the new record coming out or be a part of, I'm actually getting ready to do a crowdfunding campaign. You can go to my website and get information about that there. If you'd like more information about the record and the Art of Staying in Love, all of that information will be on there shortly.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us for the podcast today. Once your CD is ready and coming out, I hope you'll come back and maybe even we'll have a little, have you sing on the podcast. That would be a first for me.
Yes, I'd love to. That would be fun.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Debbie. I really appreciate you being here today.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Till next time, have fun, be you, and share your sound advice with the world. For more info and show notes, or to connect with Phyllis, go to soundadvicesales.com or on Facebook at Sound Advice Sales.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM. Women's voices amplified.